Hey guys. So I had the idea earlier today that I wanted to do a video about the different kinds of wraps I have on my cues. Um, Something to fill up the memory card a little bit with. This is not all my cues, it's about a third of them. But I think it's pretty representative of all the different kinds of wraps that I have. I don't have every kind of wrap that's available out there. Um, Most notably to me, I do not have stacked leather wrap. I don't like the way they look. A lot of people seem to really love those. It's the ones where it's a bunch of rings of leather. I imagine you get a really good grip on those things. And also, I don't have one of those. I want to say brake cues. They have like a rubbery grip, sport grip or something. I don't have one of those. But I do have a bunch of other shit. I'm just going to get this one out of the way first. For a lot of people, the very first cue that they ever get is going to have a wrap something like this. This is nylon, okay? My ex-girlfriend bought me this cue. She thought that I could use it. She was mistaken. But it's nylon. This stuff doesn't last particularly long. And this is the really cheaper cues are going to have a nylon wrap, if they have any wrap at all. So that's just what that is. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, you can feel it. It's don't get one of these. Don't ever spend any decent money on a cue with a nylon wrap, because anybody that makes a decent cue would have already moved away from this. Hey, there's a cat. That's Wiley. She's not allowed on the table, can you tell? Then this one here, let's get this out of the way too. This does count as a wrap. All this stuff counts as wraps, even if there's no wrap. This is a Q-Tech. One of the cool things about this is that Earl Strickland signed it for me. It's just an Earl Strickland model. I don't know what this is. Nobody really does, I don't believe. It doesn't feel like rubber. It doesn't feel like any kind of leather. It's certainly not cloth. It's probably just some kind of plastic, space age material or whatever. It's not particularly grippy as compared to just this, but yeah, there that is. I got this. I went to Omaha one year. I flew to Omaha like mid '90s, just visit my friends and all that. And I didn't have a cue. I didn't take a cue with me, so I just went and I just bought one. Not a big deal. Yeah, I said everything counts as a wrap, even if there's no wrap. There's no wrap on this cue. All there is on this peach hour is just different colored wood. But it still counts, as far as I'm concerned, it still counts as a wrap. I'm not a huge fan of wrapless cues, but there have been a couple that I've seen that I really like. I have a Divinity that I like the looks of. If for some reason you don't like this, but maybe you just have like a Sneaky Pete, and you want something with a little bit better grip, you can take one of these things, which I've lost already. Oh, my cat took it. Kitty, what'd you do with that? Ah, there it is. Okay, just a second. Sorry, guys. Had a technical malfunction. This is just a little tube of rubber, probably off an inner tube from a bicycle, and I could put that down there on my Sneaky Pete, and that you get a really good grip on that. And it just rolls on or rolls off, and most people watching this are probably familiar with that kind of a motion. But that'll work, and I've used this in the past on Sneaky Pete type cues. I'm gonna put it up there, and maybe she won't steal it again. Another thing that's a wrap that's not a wrap. This is Manucci HUF1. There is linen under here. It's cloth of some kind under here. Doesn't really matter what kind of cloth it is because it's covered with this, the same thing that's covering everything else, polyurethane or some kind of varnish or whatever. This is the reason that I didn't like Mucci's back in the '80s. I thought it was silly to have a wrap and then just cover it up with polish like this. my taste have changed, and now I understand this cue is going to look really nice for a long time. But a lot of cloth wraps aren't going to look nice for a long time. But there's that. And I was looking, this is the only cue I have left with Irish linen. This is what they call white fleck on black Irish linen. This is one of my shawls. I bought this to be a break cue. And anybody that's watched my unboxings will see I always get nervous when I get down to the butt end of the cue because I'm afraid it's going to be brown, just like this one. This one is brown. Where these points are black, this is brown. Doesn't match, looks like shit. As far as I'm concerned, it looks like shit. I'd rather it was all brown and at least match. This doesn't look very good at all. I ended up buying it. Didn't like it, had to buy another break cue right away. But so this is white fleck on black. I mean, I've also seen black fleck on white. That's what my R12 had when I first bought it. Green fleck on white. It seems like that was really common, like back in the 70s and stuff. And you could probably be just about any color combination. It's Irish linen. This may even be like the most common and most popular wrap for a pool cue. It was for a while anyway. After several years of steady playing, you know, the oil from my hand would get into it and make it look kind of disgusting. And so I'd have to get it rewrapped. Actually, Kitty, you're not allowed on the table. Actually, my R12, I mentioned that I took several years off from playing pool at one point. And my R12, where's it at? Oh, my R12 isn't on the table. Yeah, it is. My R12 sat on this table about right here for about a year and a half. Well, you know, like I said, because I didn't play it for a long time. And at the time, it had the white fleck on black Irish linen that soaked through the slate. I guess it set up about here. There's still a stain in the slate from the oil from my hand that seeped down into that. Okay? Not gross at all. So this is my R12. This came with black fleck on white Irish linen. So like a, you know, maybe like a grayish or whatever from a distance. After a few years, I had it replaced with white fleck on black Irish linen, which looked a hell of a lot better. But when it was time to get that replaced, something happened to the finish of the cue, and the guy, we ended up sending us to Rick Filippi to get all the finish redone. And I said, well, heck, as long as you have it, put a leather wrap on. I didn't know anything at all about leather wrap. This was my first leather wrap cue. And this is boar's hide. And the camera's not going to show it. But if you look at it, you can see little holes. There's all these little holes, which I guess where the hair of the animal was. This is not just embossed cow leather. This is like, you know, the real deal, I guess. And when I got this back, A, I loved the way it looked. And B, I love the fact that it wasn't going to have to be replaced every few years, like the Irish linen. So ever since then, I've kind of either only bought cues with leather wraps, or I'll buy a cue and then I'll go get a leather wrap put on as soon as I can, for the most part. I'm going to lose track, but that's really okay. I have some cues that I haven't really been able to categorize what they are. And I think a lot of them are just some kind of embossed leather. This is my Cohen. It's got a little bit of texture to it, but no pores or anything like that. I think this is probably just a sheet of cow leather that's been embossed. I have several like that. This here is my Predator Mosconi cue. I don't know what this is. I wish my camera was better. I don't know what this is. Feels pretty good though. It looks decent. This was my prettiest cue for a long time. Still way up there. My Southwest has again, a wrap I can't really describe. Um, Probably just some kind of embossed leather, but it's very subtle. If they took a sheet of leather and pressed a pattern or whatever into it, they didn't press very hard, I guess is what I'm getting at. Do I want to skip anything? No, I'm not going to skip anything yet. So, in 2021, I won this Carmelli in one of Tony Chohan's raffles. And this Carmelli came with the Spanish bull wrap. And this basically immediately became my favorite wrap on a cue, just because of the way that it feels and honestly the way that it looks as well. Never heard of Spanish bull. I mean, I got boar's hide one time, and I'm like, yeah, that's the best wrap in the world. Well, now I think the Spanish bull is the best wrap for me. So I really liked it, and since then, if I've had a cue re-wrapped, for the most part, it's been with the Spanish bull. This is just another example of Spanish bull. This is my Cohen. I think I said the other cue was my Cohen. That's actually my Pete Ullman cue. This is my Cohen. This is another example of the Spanish bull wrap with a bit of a different texture. Now I think I mentioned in an earlier video today that you can get a wrap that's polished or not polished, and that seems to be, is it going to be dark, is it going to be lighter colors? This is my Adam Balabushka, and this wrap, this wrap is like really crappy. I had an option to get like, Irish linen wrap or leather wrap or, I don't know, tree bark or something. I probably should have gone with the tree bark, because this showed up just looking just horrible wrap compared to the boar's hide that I've been used to. It's very thin, it's paper thin, stuff like that, and it was also gray. I got the impression that they just found it laying on a shelf somewhere and said, well, let's sell it to the silts guy. But I did put it on my lathe and ran some black shoe polish over it, let it dry, buff it up. I've done that a few times. No, it's fairly nice and black now. Still doesn't feel particularly good. It feels really, really thin. This cue hits fantastic though, by the way. Now this one, I wish this would show up on the camera, but it won't. So this is my Pierce. I bought this at Derby this past year, and I didn't notice it before I bought it, or I would not have bought it. I don't think I would have. And I don't know if you're going to notice it in the camera. But if you can make out any of the patterns, any of the bumps and nooks and crannies and stuff of the wrap, it's exactly the same all the way through. This is a piece of embossed leather. And they had apparently a really small pattern, because it repeats. And that's what I'm seeing. It reminds me of, like, some wallpaper and stuff, where you have a bunch of flowers, and then that whole pattern repeats down here, and then the whole pattern repeats again down here. That's what's going on with this wrap on this cue. I don't mind the embossed leather, but spend some money on a bigger pattern. So it's not just immediately evident that this is embossed leather. That's what's going on with that. And almost done. You all asleep yet? So another cue I bought at Derby. Remember I said I typically will buy a leather wrapped cue, or if I have to buy a linen wrapped cue, I get it redone. I bought this at Derby. It had an Irish linen wrap on it. I took it down 4 or 5 boots down, and I had a Joe Blackburn or Steve Lomax, I don't know who did the work, put this wrap on it. So this is my Color Money cue. It's got elephant ear on it. First time I'd ever had elephant ear on a cue. I just heard that people like it a lot. It's not what I was expecting. I was expecting a much smoother. This is almost like gripping like some, I don't know, 60 grit sandpaper or something. you're going to get a really good grip with it. You know, the looks have grown on me, you know, quite a bit. But this is elephant ear. I don't know if all elephant ear wraps are like this, as far as being really, really grippy. This is the only one that I've ever touched, is this. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this Tim Scruggs. I think that this Tim Scruggs has lizard skin. And I wish my camera would focus better. You see, there are some big differences in the grain and stuff of what's going on with it. This wrap feels the best of all the wraps that I have. It feels thicker than the other wraps that I have. Like, it's almost rubbery if I squeeze down on it. It's very grippy. I like the way this thing plays a lot. I like everything about it. Except I guess I'm not as in love with the looks, but it's all black, so it's not like it stands out as being weird looking. And a lot of people could, I would say, like this better than some of the more uniform grain patterns. I certainly like it better than the ones on this Pierce that repeats every inch and a half. But I don't know what it is. It might just be some kind of embossed leather, but it's thicker than the other leather wraps that I have. It feels almost rubbery, and it looks like lizard skin. Maybe it's like alligator or something. I don't know. I just don't know. And the last job I'm going to throw out here are just, because I don't know what the hell they are, okay? This is my McDermott D21. It's got some type of leather or fake leather or something going on with it. It's got all these different variations in the grain and stuff. It feels like plastic. This feels like plastic. I don't think it is. I can dent it with my fingernail, but I don't know what it is. It's just something. It's just weird. Maybe that's what they say in the catalog. Weird wrap. Here you go. That is. This is my Joey Chin, and it's got the same stuff. It's just a different pattern. It just feels weird. Like you don't know what it is. And if this is leather and I just can't tell because I'm not a leather expert, apologies to Joey Chin and the McDermott people and all that. I do not think this is 100% leather. I think it's something else, something weird. So that's my video about the different kinds of wraps that I have. Like most of my videos, I never said this was going to be interesting, and so therefore nobody's allowed to be disappointed. At the very end of this video, though, which is right now, I will point out that I got my new Tascarella back today from being rewrapped. It's got the Spanish bull. It looks just like the other ones, and it's a wow cue for me now. Putting the original Tascarella shaft onto the original butt. It's got the compression fit, and it hits fantastic now. That same shaft on my R12, my Sean R12, did not hit fantastic. It just hit really good. But now I have a wow cue that I can play with. Checks all the boxes. I made a video about that. I am quite happy and excited about it. And I guess that's just the video. My other shipment that I was expecting that has to do with my case giveaway, didn't get that today. So maybe tomorrow. And that's it. I'm watching a pay-per-view. It's Chip and Shane, and I guess I'm not really a fan of either one of them. It's not like I dislike either one of them. But usually, if Chip's playing somebody, I'm rooting for the other guy because I usually like the other guy better. And the same thing with Shane. Now they're playing each other. It's on and I'll watch it, but I don't have any money invested in, bet. I don't have any money bet or anything. And I guess I don't really particularly care who wins. I take that back. I do want one of the two of them to win, and I know who that is, but I'm not going to cry if they don't win. Bye.